Okay, now let's look on Born-Haber cycle. So Born-Haber cycle comes with three more definition that you need to know lah: lattice energy, electron affinity, and ionization energy. Okay, ionization energy I would not consider a new thing because we have met this a few more times before. Okay, so what is lattice energy? Okay, so lattice energy is the energy release. Okay, energy release, okay, when 1 mole of solid ionic compound, so 1 mole of solid ionic compound, okay, form from its gaseous ion. So form from its gaseous ions. Okay, so what does it mean by energy release? Bila 1 mole of solid ionic compound. So it is it just saying that daripada ions, alright, so we have dia punya ions. Okay, so contohnya NaCl, Na plus, and gas plus chlorine minus N gas will form into NaCl solid. That is lattice energy. Okay, so let's look on electron affinity. What is electron affinity? Okay, is the energy change, okay, when gases atoms gains 1 mole of electron. Okay, oh tadi saya lupa, so this one the NaCl yang akan ada 1 mole lah, the solid ionic compound yang akan 1 mole. Okay, for electron affinity is energy change when when gases atoms gains 1 mole of electron. Okay, so apa contohnya? Contohnya daripada fluorine gas menjadi fluorine ion. So fluorine gas tambah 1 electron become fluorine gas. Okay, so for this, make sure that before it becomes ion is already a gas lah. Okay, so the one thing that you need to have 1 mole is electron. Okay, and ionization energy kita dah jumpa multiple time. Alright, it is the minimum energy required to remove 1 mole of electrons, okay, from gases, atoms or ions. Okay, so kita nak remove 1 mole of electron, so it means that we remove 1 mole of electrons lah. Kita just remove 1. So contohnya is from sodium gas to become sodium plus, right? So we remove 1 electron. So here for electron, it does not have a phase. You don't need to figure out whether you nak gas ke aqueous ke. Electron, you can leave it as this. Okay, so let's look on Born-Haber cycle. So this is the type of question dia akan bagi you, give you a lot of benda-benda ni, and he asks you to do is 2 ways. It's either energy per diagram ataupun energy cycle. I prefer you guys to do energy cycle lah. It is easier untuk visualize and it is simpler. Alright, but we will learn both diagram sebab sometimes the question also asks you in energy profile diagram. Okay, so let's look on this kind of question. So if the question baik, dia akan bagi you reaction equation terus. But if the question tu is a bit jahat, dia akan bagi like this. So delta H atomization of sodium. So macam mana nak tulis balik? The first thing that you need to do is tulis dia punya equation. So atomization of sodium. Okay, so apa maksudnya? So that's why you have to remember the enthalpies lah. Okay, so all of the enthalpies, so we have to remember by hook or by crook. You have to remember. So for atomization, it is 1 mole of gaseous atoms form its element. Okay, the energy required to form 1 mole of gaseous atoms. So for atomization, it means that kita akan dapat Na gas. Okay, so daripada dia punya element, so element dia is Na solid. Okay, sodium is in solid form. Okay, let's look on ionization energy of Na. It means that daripada Na gas, alright, and kita akan dapat Na plus gas plus 1 electron. Okay, and delta H atomization of chlorine. So chlorine dia datang daripada chlorine gas. Okay, kita perlukan dia chlorine gas, right? And dia punya stable state of elements is chlorine 2 gas. Okay, so nak balancekan dia is half. Okay, so don't worry. Masa you nak balance here, you letak half, you tak perlu halfkan ini, sebab ini is literally the definition of atomization of chlorine. The moment you halfkan is bila you nak buat cycle ataupun you nak buat algebraic punya method. That is when you halfkan. Okay, kalau adalah, kalau you nak halfkan ke, you nak darab 2 ke, at this moment tak perlu kacau lagi. Okay, so electron affinity of chlorine. So apa maksud electron affinity is dia akan terima 1 electron lah. So 1 gas tambah electron akan dapat chlorine minus gas. And lastly, dia orang always akan bagi the enthalpy of formation of NaCl ataupun enthalpy of formation lah, is very key in this terms of Born-Haber cycle. So enthalpy of formation is NaCl, datang daripada dia punya gaseous ions lah. So we have Na plus gas plus Cl minus gas. So that is that you have to buat. Okay, alright, so that's the first step. The next step, kalau dia nak energy profile diagram, so you akan buat energy profile diagram lah. Okay, so for energy profile diagram, cakap diagram, so it means it have to have an axis. So apa yang the axis tu perlu ada? Alright, you just have to label the y-axis. Okay, so this is the punya energy. Okay, so for Born-Haber cycle, just remember that kalau delta H dia is negative, okay, arrow akan turun bawah. Kalau positif, arrow akan naik atas. Okay, the very first thing that you need to tulis, the very bottom, is apa yang dia form. Okay, dia form NaCl. So NaCl solid. So we can assume that this is the lowest energy lah. Okay, apa yang dia form, the final form. Alright, the next one is what you need to do. Okay, apa yang you perlu buat? Oh sorry, tadi the energy for formation of NaCl. Sorry, salah ni, because it is not this. It is formation, it is daripada dia punya stable state of element. So Na solid plus half chlorine gas, dapat NaCl. Okay, sorry salah. Alright, so daripada ni, So for Born-Haber cycle, always dia akan tanya lattice energy lah. So the 1 mole of ionic compound form its gaseous ions. So the first thing yang you nak buat for Born-Haber cycle, you dah buat that one. The next one is you draw a line. Okay, apa line yang you nak buat for the very first thing ni is the enthalpy of formation. So you letak Na solid plus half chlorine to gas. Okay, you buat dia punya formation. So this is you punya formation, and you draw dia punya arrow lah. So arrow is you letak dia punya enthalpy. So delta H is negative 411 kilojoule. Okay, the next step is you perlu naik atas. So naik atas is delta positive. So kita kena tengok yang mana yang positif tu lah kita akan buat naik ke atas. So the first thing yang you nak buat is you tengok lah apa yang kita boleh buat. So the first thing we have in solid form, kita boleh tukar dia jadi gaseous form. Okay, daripada sodium solid tukar kepada sodium gas. So Na gas plus half chlorine gas. Okay, kita buat untuk sodium, kita tak kacau chlorine. So tak perlu kisah pasal chlorine, you just carry over. So just carry over the chlorine lah. Alright, so naik atas kita dapat delta H sekalian plus 148. Right, the next thing is yang mana lagi satu positif. So daripada gas, okay, daripada sodium gas nak menjadi ke sodium plus. So naik atas lagi, naik atas once more. Alright, kita akan dapat Na plus in gas plus half chlorine gas. Right, naikkan lagi, delta H is plus 496. Okay, and last one ada lagi satu is atomization of chlorine. So daripada chlorine gas menjadi chlorine sahaja. Okay, so the last one is here lah. So the very last one for yang positif you buat panjang sikit. Okay, so you buat Na plus gas menjadi and also chlorine. Yes, so that's the arrow where the last one is delta H. Delta H is equivalent to plus 121 kilojoule. Okay, so kenapa you buat panjang sikit? Sebab now we have no longer yang positif punya values. So sekarang negative values we need to turun lah. So we need to turun. So turunkan, buat je kat mana. So it doesn't matter how far this you space out. What matters is menaik is positif, menurun is negative, and it is in this order lah. So first thing yang menurun is tengok, electron affinity of Cl. Okay, so you tengok it is negative 349. So maksudnya daripada Na plus gas and chlorine akan menjadi chlorine minus gas. So that is dia menurun yang delta H is equivalent to negative 349. Okay, and lastly the final arrow here is delta H lattice. Okay, so macam mana daripada ini you boleh cari delta H lattice? Okay, sama juga macam Hess law. Okay, kalau dia follow one steps, it means that the other step also akan samalah, as long as the product is the same. So kalau you tengok this step, is also sama dengan this step. Okay, is a cycle overall. Okay, so one thing that you can do is you labelkan the delta H. Ada banyak delta H kan, so labelkan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from here we know that okay, so saya buat dekat bawah ni lah, so that delta H1, which is this, is equivalent to delta H2 tambah delta H3 tambah delta H4 tambah delta H5 and finally tambah delta H lattice. So daripada sini you boleh cari delta H lattice. So that is energy profile diagram. Okay, so this is a quite complicated, atas bawah. So let's look on the simpler way. Alright, with why kita guna energy cycle method. Energy cycle method ke energy profile diagram ke, you need to know this lah. Okay, that's why you have to remember dia punya enthalpy definition. Yeah, so how to do the energy profile, energy cycle diagram. Alright, so energy cycle diagram, the very first thing is you need to tulis dia punya enthalpy of formation. Okay, so senang cerita. Enthalpy of formation, so we have Na solid tambah half chlorine to gas akan dapat NaCl solid. Okay, and then the next thing is, okay, remember the lattice energy is daripada dia punya gases ions, so it means that these two you must make sure dia adalah ions baru dia dapat jadi solid balik. So buat satu per satu. So sodium kepada sodium gas. Okay, before anything boleh jadi ions, it must be in gas form. So sodium ke sodium gas. So ini adalah dari mana? It is daripada atomization of sodium. Alright, so delta H is plus 108. Okay, and then daripada sodium apa lagi dia jadi before dia jadi NaCl? It must be sodium plus lah. So Na plus. Okay, sodium ke sodium plus, which one? This ionization energy. So delta H is equivalent to plus 496. Alright, next thing kita tengok for chlorine. So chlorine menjadi chlorine gas sahaja. Okay, chlorine gas, bukannya chlorine dual atom, it's just only one. So tengok itu datang daripada mana satu ya, this one. So atomization of chlorine, so dia punya delta H is equivalent plus 1 to 1. Alright, and daripada chlorine it have to be an ions, so chlorine minus gas, so it is electron affinity of chlorine. Alright, so we will have delta H is equivalent to negative 349. Right, daripada situ kalau you guys tengok Na plus chlorine, this is lattice energy lah, delta H lattice. Okay, benda yang sama saya buat sini also can apply here lah, sebab kalau you tengok this one step, the formation energy delta H equivalent to negative 414 is one step, and this is the other step, and this is the other step. So you can solve like energy cycle diagram yang lain. So this is the two thing yang you ada dalam Born-Haber cycle.